What's up, everyone? This is Justin Taylor with Rock Title, and you're listening to Anyone Can Be a Rock Star, a ROC University podcast. Listen weekly as we sit down with industry top producers and leaders to discuss the ideas, the opportunities, and the strategies to ultimately lead them to success in their business so you can do the same. Today, I'm super excited. We are with Mike Marino in the Las Vegas market. Thank you for joining us today. We're honored to be able to work with you. So thank you for being here.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. So for those listening, can you give us a little background on your journey into real estate? When did you become an agent, through up to today?
Sure. So I've been licensed since 2005, right before everything went up and down and crazy. But I started in real estate in '01, actually, when I bought my first property and started, it was just a condo for me to live in, so I didn't have to pay rent anymore. But then I started thinking about a little more, what if I rented this out, bought another one, moved into that, and maybe created a little business. And between 2001 and 2005, bought a few properties. And in 2005, made a career change. At the time, I was a chef. So you're working 70 hours a week, quality of life is zero. Yeah. Pay wasn't that great. And I said, let me make a career change. So I got licensed. And at the time, I went from working as a chef. I still kept my job in the dining room. The hours were a lot more friendly, but I had all day, had a brand new real estate license, and I had pretty much between 9 and 5 all day to try to see if that was the career path that I wanted to go down. And I have been full-time ever since 2005, with obviously some ups and downs, but full-time.
That's awesome. That's interesting. Okay, so chef. So how long were you a chef before? Was that quite like your previous life of career length, or?
Yeah, so that was my college major, including like the high school jobs where you work as a line cook. I started actually in 8th grade at a pizza place and did that. So that was 1989, I guess, and did that all the way up to 2004. So what is that? Let's see. It's a long time. So 15 years maybe. But yeah, at that time, it was just the right time to get out. But yeah, that was my college degree, and that was the reason why I had moved from Boston to Las Vegas.
Very cool. Very cool. So in your, I know your business is really driven by repeat and referral business, which is, the majority of all transactions that occur come from that. But I know agents are always looking to, where do I buy leads? Do I do this? And I always try to train on, your database is really, in my opinion, your biggest asset in this industry and for your business. So, what does that look like in terms of your processes and marketing efforts? Do you have a solid database? How often do you communicate to your people? Kind of walk us through that.
So as far as my past clients, I have my past clients, my repeat clients, and I also have my leads, the clients you're nurturing. But the bulk of my time, not necessarily dollars, because it doesn't take a lot of dollars to keep in touch with your database. But as far as my time spent, which in the end is dollars, time spent on a day-to-day basis, week to week, or month-to-month basis, however you want to slice it, the majority of my time, because the majority of my business comes from repeats and referrals, the majority of my time in terms of prospecting for new business is spent on repeats and referrals. And it's not just picking up the phone and calling somebody that I sold a house to 5 years ago and said, hey, can you please tell 5 of your neighbors to use me? It's just kind of keeping in touch with them, letting them know what's going on in the market, and letting know that you're always available if they ever wanted to talk or come by the office, have a coffee, and just talk about real estate.
Gotcha. Okay. So in your experience and what you've done in terms of marketing, so is more of those meetings, or you said not necessarily phone calls, but are you sending like physical mailers and keeping in touch that way as well?
So I have a little bit of a rotation with the past clients. Some of them that are, closer to me, whether they're friends or family, or if it's just your past great clients that you don't really have a personal tie to, they're getting a little bit of everything. So it's kind of a little bit of a rotation where once a year they will get, right around this time of year, I order 500 calendar magnets, actually, of these. So nice. I order 500 of those, and those go out to more or less my top 250 clients. The other 250 go to my top 250 farm neighborhood But that they'll get once a year. And then the rest of the rotation is a combination of email, phone call, and text. And as far as my emails, I try to keep the phone calls to a minimum. I'm not the agent that kind of calls every 2 months and say, hey, I'm just checking up on you, or the agents that kind of ring their doorbell unannounced every 2 months. I don't do a lot of that. It's more, and it's all organic. It's not a lot of drip automated marketing where they could tell it's mass produced. Mine is very personal. It's an actual, I sit there and I'll type it up. I'll say, hey, John, just seeing what's going on. Maybe I have a tie to that neighborhood. I say, yeah, I just sold your neighbor's house a couple doors down. Here's what's up in the market. Feel free to ever stop by, hope all is well. So it's real simple. And then the text might be something like, hey, check your email. I just sent you an update for the neighborhood. And the phone call might be just something just real random, but it's not always like salesy. It's just more or less like, hey, just checking in, just basic, more or less just offering my services, or if you ever want to just talk about the market, rather than please tell everybody that they can call me.
Yeah, no, definitely that value first in there. Diving a little deeper when we're talking database or CRM, would you share with us, like, do you have a specific CRM or database that you prefer, that you use? Is it Excel? Is it, Lion Desk, Sync?
I actually don't use a CRM. And people, when I tell them, I close 50 to 60 houses a year and I have no assistant and no transaction coordinator, I don't have a CRM. I just do everything. It's backed up, and everything is more or less Microsoft and Google. So every client, everything is more or less, I've created a spreadsheet for every different function that we use, whether it's a new escrow for a buyer, a new listing, or if it's just a matter of keeping track of each individual client. So that all goes on an individual Excel spreadsheet. Obviously, everything's in the cloud. So wherever I go, at my whole computer, my whole business is in my phone. And then as far as just day-to-day like CRM, I just use Google Calendar, and everything is backed up within the spreadsheet. But the Google Calendar is more like 9 o'clock signing at the title company, 10 to 12 calling these 15 people, 12 to 1 lunch, and it's more or less just being super organized as far as your database and your time management.
Yeah, I think that's so important actually to talk about a little bit more is, a lot of times when I'm talking to these powerhouse agents like yourself, and you said 40, 50, 60 deals a year, which is substantial for an agent that doesn't have an assistant. And, it's really that time blocking. I've talked to a couple agents just in the last week or so for certain functions, one specifically who she has completely nailed down social media in terms of the amount of content that she's pushing out and has seen success with it. Not that that's for everybody, but she also, I was shocked that she doesn't have an assistant. She doesn't have somebody that actually edits that information and things like that. She handles that all herself, and same, relatively the same type of producer in terms of transactions a year. So I'm happy to hear, and for those listening, to be able to understand that it takes time blocking, it takes discipline, it takes organization. You don't necessarily have to, have a CRM like you can still be very successful without that, but it's really putting in that time and work, each day to make sure that those things happen. Otherwise your business is just going to be stagnant.
Yeah, or the opposite, when you get hit with 2 new buyers and 2 new listings in the same day, and then you're just frantically searching how to make it work. If you don't have a system or a time budget in place, you will lose a couple, if not 3 of those, sales.
Yeah, good stuff. So I want to pivot slightly and talk about your listing strategy and process. Are you more of a listing agent than a buyer's agent? I kind of feel like that's you.
I'm generally about 50-50. If anything,
Okay.
it might be 60-40 listings. However, this year, maybe it's just the way the market is, but this year I keep track of where it's buyers, sellers. And I think this year I'm more like 65 or 70% buyers as far as the number of sales I've closed. Generally, I'm right around 50-50. If anything, I just maybe a little more listings generally.
Gotcha. Okay. And, obviously we're in a different market than even 3 months ago. Is there anything special that you do for your listings? Or, I recently talked to agents about, in a frenzy market where things are just selling because it's available and it's, the competition is up there, as opposed to more of a normal market or a cooler market where we have to actually, quote unquote work. I say that loosely, but our marketing strategies have to be on point and our presentation. So is there anything special that you do for your listings or unique that separates you from the competition? Or is it really truly, that value first, value forward kind of model?
Probably the latter. Whether the market is up, going down, stagnant, I really don't change my listing presentation all that much, nor how I'm finding my listings. It's more or less the same. I do adjust the numbers that are in there in terms of what your house might be worth according to what the market's doing, but I don't really change it that much. But my approach with any market, when I go into a listing appointment, I'm going into one tomorrow morning, and the day before I print up my information. I've got my folder here, and it's very old school. I mean, I have it backed up to my laptop. So if people want to do everything digitally in DocuSign, but it's old school. You go in with actual something tangible and hand them a personalized folder, branded everything. But the presentation is it's not very salesy. It's not very flashy or look at me, this is me on the cover of this magazine. It's none of that. It's very stats driven. The first three printouts might be just supply and demand, like just some very visual, like line graphs, supply, demand, inventory, things like that. There is a little bit of, this is comps, this is what's going on. This is what you want to be careful for if you're thinking about selling to an iBuyer or selling it on your own, just be careful. And then as far as the value add, I do have a printout of my 12-year MLS sales history and just kind of show them, because ultimately they want to know, what's my house worth? What do you charge? And why should I go with you? So all those are answered. If they give me the 15 minutes to go through the entire packet, all those questions will have been answered. And in the end, I more or less lean towards, if all you're worried about is the cheapest guy on the block, some people in the first 5 minutes of the call ask, what is the commission you charge? And I'll tell them, but more or less, I will let them know if that's all you're worried about, I'm probably not the right fit for you. I might be able to come close, but I'm not, if that's what you're looking for. But I kind of let them know the value is you need to be talking to at least 2 or 3 different agents. And yes, if that's all you're worried about is commission, then yes, go with the cheapest one. If you're looking at the overall package, what are their sales? Do they answer the phone when you call them? Do you feel like they're being honest and ethical? Do you feel like if you sign up with them, the process will be smooth, or will it be a nightmare on top of a very stressful time in your life? Now you're dealing with an agent that doesn't know what they're doing or answering the phone. So I try to look at the big picture, and I let them know that I put just as much emphasis on not just getting the profit out of your house, but all the other things combined, the overall experience. It's going to be smooth. Just sign here. Let me take care of everything. Answer the phone when I call you. And when you call me, I answer the phone. So that's more or less what I emphasize, rather than just the ebbs and flows of the market. 6 months ago when there was no inventory, most sellers were looking at, why do I need to pay an agent this? And I would tell them, yes, you're right. There is a lot of buyers out there and not a lot of listings. But keep in mind, if the name of the game 6 months ago was a bidding war, and this agent that's the cheapest guy on the block is going to bid you up 10,000 over asking price, but somebody that's more experienced is going to bid you up 20,000, what's a better value? So it's very important in any market.
Yeah, I agree. And I like that you mentioned, the whole commission thing and just you being able to convey the message of your value as an agent. I was talking to a group this morning, actually, and they're struggling with the whole pricing thing and just being able to convey that message of value. And I think, like you having your listing presentation, your packet, your folder, and really practicing, what that process is or what your business model is, and being confident in what you charge on your commission and being able to back that up is so critical. And yet I guess I would say practice or underused by agents, because we always talk about commission compression and things like that, but really it's up to you. This is your business. And if you can back that up with the value, true value to your client, sure, there's people out there that want the cheapest guy or, whatever it is to save them the most money. But there's so much more that goes into it, right? We have negotiation, we have understanding the contracts, legal thing. Like there's so much involved in that transaction. Red flags from experience of noticing, hey, this is, we need to look at this, and which can, inherently save your client a lot of money, a lot of time and headaches. So, I think that's something that all agents should really, practice and establish. Something I train on is that listing packet and presentation. Because I think if you have something tangible in front of you, you yourself are just more confident. You can practice that. Are able to just to convey that message better to the public and your clients. So I would be confident to say that that is part of your huge success is in being able to represent so many deals per year is because of that. And it showcases in your clients for sure and prospects. So very cool. You answered the question of physical listing packet. So you do take that, you leave that behind and drop that off. Do you take that with you like the day of? Do you deliver anything before or you just bring it with you?
Everything I do prior to the appointment, from the second they make contact with me up until the time that I go for the actual listing appointment, everything I send to them is going to be email or text. I don't go there and give them something beforehand. I know a lot of agents have had success with that. I know some people will FedEx or overnight something to them, something tangible. I've never done it. I'm not going to drastically change the system that I have in place, but I have heard that agents have had success with that. But I do absolutely give them that packet and let them know, this is the whole thing, whether or not some people read it or if they just say, all right, I'll read it later. Sometimes I go and I see that there's another folder from another competing broker, and sometimes I'll see the name of the agent right there. So, good for you guys. You're talking to other agents, and if I don't get every listing, that's the way it goes. Whether they chose you for another reason or what have you, they're doing the right thing by choosing an agent. And that's what they should do. That's what we encourage everybody to do. But yes, the day of the appointment, even if they just say, hey, I heard about you, or I read about you, or I got your postcard in the mail. Can you just come by and tell me what my house is worth? We're considering selling. If somebody tells me that, I treat it as a listing appointment. In my mind, I'm going there, it's a listing appointment. Do I have to get the listing signed right there? No, but I have to at least make contact, build a relationship right there. And then if they're selling 2 months or even a year down the road, keep in touch with them. And it's just a longer nurturing process. But the idea is they still have that same black folder with all the information in there.
Yeah, it's awesome. Good stuff. With the, obviously there's been a big change in the market and, interest rates and everything that kind of goes into that. What would be, what is your outlook over the next few months or just, in the market in general? Do you see, I'm sure you dive into, a lot of the data and everything that we're given and that's available. Is there some advice that you would give some agents right now, or maybe, if you'd be looking at yourself in the mirror and you're just getting into the industry, or you're an experienced agent and you're just feeling like, oh my gosh, here we go. Like this is, we got to pivot and re-strategize. What would be your advice to agents right now or in the next few months, what they should be doing to continue growing their business?
So by doing a lot of the basics, where it's keeping in touch with your database, doing your open houses, just being out there, answering the phone when it rings, you would be surprised. I've had people ask me like, oh, you're so busy. What do you do? I say nothing out of the ordinary, but I answer the phone every time it's humanly possible. I would say you always want to stick to the basics, but more from a, weathering the storm. And this, a lot of people in the mortgage and the escrow business as well, for us, we have to kind of treat it like a business. So you have some businesses that might be doing great for 8 years, and then 2 years, it's going to be tough. So just run your business like a business. Don't just, you have to have budget, you have reserves for not just living expenses, but you need reserves so that you can keep marketing over the next 2 months. If you don't sell a house for 2 months, that hurts. If this is your career and you're supporting a family and you're used to closing 1 to 2 houses a month consistently, the best advice for the experienced or the newer agents is run it like a business. And if you're new and you don't have a balance sheet or a P&L, you need to kind of look at it as you would never go into opening up a coffee shop or a pizza place without any money in the bank. It's the same thing. You need to kind of go into it, and whatever that number is for you based on your living expenses, you need to just have that money in the bank. And it's not just about, I have to have an extra $2,000 a month just to pay Zillow or to pay all my marketing people. It's more or less the mindset. It goes back to the old the joke is commission breath. When you go into every appointment and the client, whether it's a buyer or a seller, feels like everything that you're trying to advise them is based on, I just need this commission, I just need this check, I need to pay the bills. I get it. But if you have a 6-month cushion, whatever that number is, then you're not going into every single appointment, every single showing, like, yeah, I need to sell this house to you or else I'm not going to pay my car payments. If you have that cushion, your mindset is going to be more like, no hurry, whenever the right house comes along for you, we'll get it, we'll make it happen. And then in the end, that's what your clients are going to remember about you.
Definitely, for sure. And I know we've been talking a lot about agents and that side of the business, but I definitely wanted to touch base on consumers a little bit, specifically buyers. And you're obviously, you work with buyers all the time. With interest rates at where they're at, what are you talking to your buyers about right now? What is your advice to them?
So that's a very good question. It's a very loaded question because I'm asked
It is.
these days, and my sellers ask too. Some buyers, no matter what, they're going to believe the hype, believe the media, and they think the sky is falling, and they think we're going to go back to 2010, where you could buy a 1-bedroom condo for 35 grand. Most people, including myself, don't think that's ever going to happen again. If it does, we'll talk about it. But those buyers, if that's what they think, I don't want to ever talk somebody into it, because if they are right, I don't want them saying, well, Mike talked me into buying right now and the market dipped another 15%. Because of him, I overspent by 60K. So I don't really try to convince people or influence them that much. I will basically tell them, if that's what you feel, that's fine. I'll keep in touch with you over the next 6 months or so. And then you have the ones that are kind of on the fence, and you advise them and kind of say, look, this is the stats. Nobody can predict the future. Nobody has a crystal ball. Some people might be better at selling their beliefs or lies or BS on you, and maybe they don't have an accurate depiction of what's actually happening. But I tell them that, coming from somebody that eats, breathes, sleeps numbers in real estate, 10 hours a day, these are the facts. And I tell them that, yes, housing prices have dipped 10% since June, but also they've also been up 10% since October 2021. So it depends on how you look at it, glass half full, glass half empty. You tell them that for the longest time we had 2,500 houses on the market, which represented 1 month of inventory, and now you have 10,000, which represents 4 months. And then the glass is half full. 4 months is not necessarily a bad market. That's almost a balanced market, depending on who you ask. And then you tell them that demand is down. Normally, greater Las Vegas, you have 3,000 closings a month, and now you have about 2,500 closings a month. So look at it as an opportunity to not have a bidding war. Look at it as an opportunity to get closing costs paid for by the seller. Offer less. And if they do dip a little, look at it. You just bought the house on the way down. Nobody's ever going to time the market and sell at the absolute high and buy at the absolute low. Not even your best stockbrokers or traders are going to do that. They will tell you to buy it on the way down and sell it on the way up. And as long as you follow that advice, if you're just trying to time the market, there's also other factors that go into it. You got relocated for work. You have to buy now. You moved, you have to sell now. So there is always those factors. And I always finish that with, look, this is my opinion. And I tell them that between the house that I live in and the rental properties that I own, I'm not selling any of them. In fact, I've got my eyes open to maybe buy another 1 or 2 if the opportunity comes up. So that being said, if your realtor thought that the market was falling, your realtor would probably be unloading his portfolio, and I'm not. So when I finish with that, they say, okay, I feel better about it.
Yeah, no, that's a great way to put it, and a message for sure for our consumers, and giving them the opportunity to kind of understand that and break it down, because we are fed so much information, the news, internet, right? I mean, we're just on overload. What do we believe, right? We got to really break that down for our clients and help them understand, all different types of scenarios and perspectives of, what the current market is, and give them the flip side. So I love that. Before we, I want to talk about, what's your favorite piece of technology to leverage in this business? I feel like I might know what you're going to say, but what's your favorite piece that you prefer to leverage in this business?
So there's two ways. I guess there's what technology do I use to make my day-to-day life easier and smoother? And that is just going to be Excel and Google, as far as just Google Calendar and Excel. That's more or less all I use. I do have a texting app. My email is pretty basic. I just use Yahoo email. A lot of people laugh at me because I use Yahoo email and I still have a Samsung phone, because I'm not in the Apple crowd. But as far as technology, as far as my day-to-day, it's just Google Calendar, Excel, and I do use a texting app that's only for Droid called Mighty Text, which is really, really quick. It syncs with your Google contacts, but it's really good for sending messages with a timer. You can send a text message to 100 people that doesn't look like a group text. It goes to 100 separate people, but you could do it with one click. You could save templates. So it's super convenient and efficient. But in terms of tech that I use maybe to drum up new business, I don't really use a lot. I do use QR codes in some of my marketing pieces. When I do my open houses, I do use some QR codes, and I think that it's what I link it to. So a lot of my QR codes, when I send out my postcards, I have two postcards. It's more or less, dear neighbors, I just listed a house in your neighborhood, or dear neighbors, I just sold a house in your neighborhood. So I guess the QR codes would probably be the biggest thing. And when it's, I just listed a house in your neighborhood, the QR code brings them to a really cool virtual tour of the property, professionally done. And it's to get them, just to get them interested in saying, wow, he's got good pictures, this and that. And then on the just sold, it will say, I just sold a house in your neighborhood, blah, blah, blah. Please contact me if you would like a free in-home consultation. Click the QR code to check out my past clients' reviews and my sales history, and it will bring them to my Zillow page. And Zillow has a really good way of keeping track of, okay, I have 80 Zillow reviews, they're all 5 stars, and it also shows recent sales. If they are shopping around an agent and an agent doesn't do a lot of volume, and they see, well, this agent sold, 2 houses in the past, I guess 12 months, and they only have 3 reviews. And Mike sold 56 houses in the past 12 months, and he has 85 reviews. It's more or less just to get them on that page. So I guess the QR code would be the main thing I use. So I still do a lot of the social media, not as tech savvy with the social media as a lot of people are, but I'll do a little bit of that. But I guess the main thing would be the QR codes.
Very cool. Yeah, it's interesting because 10, 12 years ago, the QR code tried to be a thing and it failed miserably. I mean, right, technology has come so far in such a short amount of time. You had to have a separate app to download before you could even scan the QR code. Now it's so easy. I mean, it's quicker than being able to even enter in a web address or something. You just scan it with your camera and you're there. So huge thing to leverage there, especially if you have, I mean, that's a great example there. I know people use it for property valuations or just call to action type things like that. So that's a big piece.
And the big moments with that was during COVID, when every restaurant, everything was touchless QR code. And I heard somebody that wasn't really tech savvy, I forget who or where it was, but it was something along the lines of, everybody now knows how to use a QR code because you have to scan it to check out somebody's menu or to order or whatever it is. Scan this QR code to pay your check, and it's linked to the table number at a certain restaurant. So that was kind of like, all right, now I've known that QR codes have been around forever, but now everybody knows how to use them and they're recognizable. So as soon as somebody sees that, they just take out their phone, click camera. And that was kind of when I said, all right, let's do this rather than put a link, because nobody's going to type in realty1group.com/ Michael Marino. So that was more or less why and when I switched to the QR codes.
Yeah. The pandemic really helped push that piece of technology forward for sure. Now I want to go back a little bit to the app that you were talking about, and it's specifically, it sounds like it's for Droid, but I know a lot of listeners are Droid fans. So Mighty Text, did you say that you could schedule the text messages at a certain day time to go out?
Yes.
That's awesome. Okay. Yeah, I've never heard of it. So that's something super cool. So you can schedule kind of similar to what you can schedule like an email to go up, but obviously text is nearly 100% open rate, maybe 99%.
Correct.
And then it goes out in a way, right? You can do a bulk, but it goes out separately. So it looks like it was sent to them
specifically. It doesn't look like
specifically.
you're on a mass text with 100 people. Everybody's going to get an individual text. I don't know if there's a function where I could do like a mail merge and say, this one says, Dear John, Dear Mike, Dear Bill. I don't think you can do that, but if it's somewhat where it's not personalized, but it says, hey, just wanted to get you caught up on the market. Feel free to hit me up this week if you want to swing by the office. I do know agents that use it, they'll do kind of like 10 at a time, because if they send out 100 and then they get 40 text backs immediately, they might not be
Overwhelming.
so it is just an extra capability to have. But it is, like I said, it's super efficient. Everything I do, like I said, I'm looking at 6 computer screens here right now, and it's more or less having every tool open at that time and what can save and make everything more time efficient. And Mighty Text is one of my favorites for sure.
Yeah, no, those listening who have Android, if it's just for that, definitely check it out. I'm going to check it out and get a little bit more information on it, because I think that is a very valuable tool. Text messaging is such a amazing thing to be able to, communicate with people easily. Like I said, it has nearly 100% open rate when used appropriately and correctly, right? You don't want to get into that spamming, but obviously you're, value first and all that good stuff. But Mike, it's been amazing talking with you. I'm excited to get this episode out. I think that it's going to benefit a lot of agents who listen in. So I can't thank you enough for taking the time to be with us today.
You're very welcome. Thank you as well, Justin.
Appreciate it. And I can't wait to get back out to Vegas and see you in person at one of the trainings.
Sounds good. I'll see you then.
Awesome. For everyone listening, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can see previous episodes at ROCuniversity.com. And until next time, we will see you in escrow. So take care, everyone.